Happy 2026. Can you believe it? Do you have any blank sheets of paper around? We are ready to go into a new year of watercolor. This is Pam with Follow Your Brush, and I'm so glad to all of you. I want to thank you for all of you who have joined and subscribed and liked and commented and asked questions. So much fun for me. That's why I do it. I just do this for fun, and I am so glad you've come along for the ride. Thank you. And as I'm contemplating 2026, I'm thinking about past year, what I've accomplished, and what do I want to do this year. And I don't really have resolutions, so to speak, as much as I think I want to continue to grow in my journey. This is one that I started for my January 2026. This is from Grabby, and you can get this on Amazon. Each month is a new calendar page that is empty, and then you paint what you want for that year. There we go. Like there's March, February still in there. The paper is surprisingly good, and I've really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it last year. So each month I did a picture of what was going on in our lives at the time. So for January, I painted this tree that was at my son's house for Christmas, and this was his neighbor's tree that we could see through the kitchen window, and it just fascinated me. This is obviously a smaller version. The tree is humongous, and it looks almost like something out of a little fairyland, like there's little leprechauns living in that tree. So that's how I started out my January, with the tree that inspired me at my son's house. A lot of what I do when I paint, and that's why I say, get a blank sheet of paper. My kids got me new paper for 2026 from Arsh, which I enjoy. I'm sorry about the shadow on the sun's not out today. So 2026 is kind of like going into this blank sheet of paper. What am I going to put on there? Do I have a theme? Do I want to do trees? One year I did a sketchbook full of birds. That was fun. And but this year I'm just kind of blank, like this sheet of paper, just waiting to see what I want to do and what comes about. A lot of what I do, I like to do what I call spontaneous painting. And let me get this shadow off of there. Sorry about that. This is an example of one that I just did the other day. Now, when you ask, you might be asking, how is this spontaneous? It's spontaneous in that I put down the water. I wet the paper in different areas, just put down some base colors and let them run. Then after it dried, I came back in to look for shapes and see what interested me. It's kind of like looking for hidden figures when we were little in our highlights magazines. Did you do that? So I guess I was kind of thinking of that tree. Here's kind of the road to that tree. And I don't know, water might be a sun setting. It's kind of a green theme. But I really like how that came out. So that was one of my last paintings for 2025. Another painting that I did is kind of sort of spontaneous, not really. But I was thinking about the flowers and geraniums. So just thinking about them, but without a reference photo. I was just playing and put down some colors, and I came in and then added colors, let it dry, and added some more. And after this dried, I actually really kind of liked it. I think they're a little bit too big for this size paper, but that's okay. That's what I enjoy doing. Another one that I have done that maybe I already shared this, I don't know, is this one. And this one, believe it or not, I had a reference photo of white flowers on a green background. And that's how I began. And I know you're just like, what do you mean, white flowers on a green background? Well, that's what I had sketched. Obviously, that's not what I finished up with. This is something that took me a long time, and I just kept following what the paint was telling me. The pigment as it moved and dried, and then I go back and look at it again, move it around, different shapes. I think at one point I had it this way. I think that's actually how I painted it, but then when I finished it, I liked it this direction, and I kept adding layers and depth, and as it turned out, it kind of came out of it like an abstract, and I absolutely love it. It's almost like a fabric texture. So that didn't intend to be a spontaneous painting, but I guess by spontaneous, what I'm saying is I just kind of go with what I'm seeing in the painting at the time. What the pigment is telling me, what the shapes are telling me, and then work around that with, this would be like negative painting, working around those shapes. It took me a long time to understand that concept, but I'm getting there. This is another one that I did at the end of the year. And again, what I did with this one is I just wet the paper and I put my colors in, let them dry, and then I came back in after it was dry to look at potential shapes and figures and shadows. And it even looks like I have a little boy coming down sledding. So I called this one Snow Days, and was happy with that. But again, no reference photo. I'm just playing with the colors and see what comes out. This one I did do with a reference photo. I have done so many versions of this painting that my friend Christy Jacobson posted the photo, and I probably have tried this maybe 12 or 15 times. Now you may ask, why would you want to do that? Because I get something in my mind and I want to work on that, and it's like I just can't let it escape until I finally get something I'm happy with. I worked a great deal on this one with the negative shapes. I sketched lightly the tree trunks and just the shapes the leaves were making, not individual leaves. And I did the leaves first, just the shapes that they were in a light color. I believe it was Rossiana light. Then I came back in after that dried and then began to fill in my trees with a lunar blue, although it doesn't look like that now, but I added some Quinburnt Scarlet after they dried, just to add the layers. And then I try to be mindful of my negative spaces again and paint in between. And this one I did lightly go over with a little bit of ink as well. So you can see a little bit of ink line work. I don't want my line work to stand out like, oh, she used ink, but I use it just to kind of highlight what I've done. Then my grandson sent me a photo of his dog, Lacey, and he had just put some whipped cream on her nose, and he asked me if I would paint her. It was kind of a comical picture. So this was his dog, Lacey, and this was a challenge. I don't normally do pets, and but again, I just tried to look at the shapes and trace the shape of her body, because as you know, we often say if you can get your shape right and the shadows, no matter what the color, people will know what you've painted. But this was so cute, and I was actually really pleased that I even got her eyes in there. And so this was a lot of fun. It was almost like solving a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle or something, and try to put the shapes and colors course, being a black dog is difficult, so this took a couple layers. I used some lunar black. I used some neutral tint. I even did some Indanthrone blue in here because black is not really black. And then up in here there is some Quinburn orange for her eyes. And then I did go over some with the gel pen, and he loved it. And so that's his dog Lacey, and I've yet to get it to him, but I will. So those are some of the things that I'm contemplating for the new year. Of course, I had to order more. Well, I got the paper from my kids, but I did order some new paints. I went through my tubes and saw what was low, what was just can't squeeze out even with the turner. I have trouble squeezing anyway. Things that were just really empty to refresh my palettes, and then try some new colors. And I want to also, I will put in the description, I've had some people asking me on my Follow Your Brush page and group on Facebook, people to take lessons from or watch tutorials. Who do we recommend? And of course, every person has their own way that they like to paint. So in the description, I will put a few of my favorites, and it's going to vary. It's going to vary from more detailed painting to very loose painting and free painting. I do like free and loose, but there has to come together the concept of the contours and shapes and learning how to sketch and draw those and getting your perspective right and things of that nature before you can really paint freely, if that makes sense. So I have a couple people. Jill Williams is my go-to for, I love watching Jill Williams. It's watercolorwithjill.com, I believe is the website. I will double check and put it in the description. Jill is a wonderful teacher and explains your how-tos and steps that you can take, as well as learning your color pigments, what they do, how to use your brush. Just really awesome. And she does have a free membership as well as a paid membership. So I'll put her link in the description. I like to watch Jill to see how she's going to approach a reference photo. Because that's part of your planning. Is you look at a photo and it's like, how am I going to do this? And Jill is really good about explaining how she's going to approach her reference photo and go about getting the effects that she wants. The other one that I like to watch is Heart-Led Journey. I'm a member of her group with Angela Fair. Angela talks about more of the why and the heart of your art and expressing yourself. She may start with a reference, but then encourages you to continue to take that and begin to work on it in what we call a series, so that each one is, you're expressing more about what you're feeling and seeing in your own heart and emotions, not necessarily a direct, exact replica. Then I also follow Watercolor Pour with Buffy Kaufman. Buffy is free and loose, but yet still, it's interesting, they all still teach you your basics. It all still comes down to that. You still have to have some basic skills. It all comes down to that. Buffy is great with the wet on wet, with the water on your paper, and then putting your pigment in with the pipette and dripping it in and letting the water flow, and then reading your painting as let the pigment speak to you. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy from the detail to the free. The other one that free flowing. The other one that I began my watercolor journey with 7 years ago, and many of you follow him as well, and that's Steve Mitchell with Mind of Watercolor. I really encourage you to check him out as well. He is on YouTube, and so you can watch a lot of his lessons there for free. And as well as he does have a Patreon channel that you can join. All of these people have contributed to my personal journey in a different way. I learn more how to approach a photo reference, perhaps like this with the dog or the trees. Have learned that, and also values with Jill Williams has helped me with that. The spontaneous, Steve is Mitchell, Mind of Watercolor, is great with spontaneous. And Angela as well, just kind of putting down the paint and pigment and then seeing what you see. I really enjoy doing that. It's like finding hidden pictures. And then this, I don't know where this came from. This just came from my brain somewhere. I don't know that anybody wants to take credit for teaching me this. It's just me spending hours of sitting and relaxing and just talking. It's like I had a conversation with my paint and my pigments as I was painting. And this is similar. I had something in mind, and then this is also like a spontaneous, just doing whatever I see. And I enjoy that as well. So Happy New Year, and share with me what ideas you find in your future for 2026, directions that you might want to go. If you have any questions for me about what I'm doing or what I'm using, please feel free to put that in the comments. Like and subscribe and all those things we do on YouTube. And Happy New Year. Thanks for watching. Bye.